Hi, I'm Laura Aiken, and I am the Special Education, Inclusion, and 504 Specialist here at Region 9. I'm going to be taking a few minutes today to talk to you about special education and Section 504. 5 minutes is not a lot of time to tell you everything that you ever needed to know about these two areas, but I would be happy to talk to you at any time if you need any help with a student who is receiving these services. But let me jump in and give you some basic information. So, for Section 504, that is a civil rights law. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in programs and activities receiving federal funds. And if you have a student who's receiving Section 504 services, they will have a Section 504 plan. That is the terminology that we use for that. That plan is going to list the accommodations that the student is to receive, and that's typically all of what you're going to see in a 504 plan. It's not like special education where there's a lot more information. A 504 plan is pretty simple and usually very short, and it's going to have information about their disability and the accommodations that they are going to need to be successful in the general education setting. How do you get this information? You need to find your 504 coordinator on your campus. That's typically a counselor or an assistant principal, and they will let you know how to access the student's 504 plans. Every campus and every district does this a little bit differently, so that's your best person to ask to find that information. For special education, there is a law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and that is what funds special education. It's federal financial assistance, and this is to guarantee that special education and related services are eligible and available to students with disabilities. So students who are receiving special ed services, they're going to have an IEP, or an individualized education plan. That IEP is going to have a lot of really important information for you. It'll have their PLAF, which is their present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. That should tell you what the student can and cannot do. So it'll give you areas of strengths and areas of weaknesses. You'll also be able to find a list of accommodations and modifications that the student will need. It will list their IEP goals, so the goals that they are working on that year to show mastery towards. Sometimes these are goals that you can be working on in your classroom, in the general ed classroom, as well as other areas. It will talk about their services, so that will let you know if they're getting some inclusion support, if they're going to be pulled out to a resource setting or content mastery. There's lots of different services that a student can have. It will even list their speech services, occupational therapy. All of that information will be housed in that IEP as well. And if they are a student who has a behavior plan, that behavior plan will be in that IEP paperwork as well. So how do you get that information? This is where you need to find your special education teacher on your campus or your campus diagnostician, and they will let you know how to access your students' IEPs. Here's a question that we get asked a lot. Can a student have a 504 plan and an IEP? The answer is no. You can have one or the other. Typically, 504 plans are for students who are in general education. They have a disability, and as long as they just are receiving some accommodations, they're successful in the general ed setting. To be in special education and to have an IEP, then that student needs to meet one of the 13 disability categories recognized by IDEA and the state of Texas, and they are going to need specially designed instruction. And so we don't have enough time for this video to go into all of that, but hopefully we will at a later date. So here are some helpful tips for you as you get started this school year. Go ahead and find those IEPs and those Section 504 plans and read through them. Get familiar with your students. If you can, make a list or a spreadsheet of the accommodations your students will need. That'll be very helpful as you go through the year to be able to go back and quickly look and see which students need what kind of support. and ask questions. If you're not sure what an accommodation means, or if there's a word or phrase in that paperwork, please ask. There's a lot of terminology used in special education and sometimes Section 504 that can be very confusing. Do not be afraid to ask questions for clarification. We want you to know everything. And then make contact with your special education teacher on your campus. They are going to be a wealth of knowledge for you. Now, if you're a new special education teacher, I want you to reach out to your campus mentor, your diagnostician, or your Region 9 mentor for support. You can also reach out to me since I'm the special ed inclusion support person. I'm here to help special ed teachers as well. Some resources for you to check out that you'll find very helpful is we have a Texas Sped Support website that has a lot of information. On that site are these different links that I have here for you. So the Special Education Acronym Quick Reference Guide, because we use a lot of acronyms in special education. Specially designed instruction, what does that mean? What does that look like? And then working with paraprofessionals. So if you're new to education and if you've never worked with a paraprofessional, this is a good resource to give you some ideas of what their roles and responsibilities are versus what yours are. I've also included Accommodation Central, which is a great site to go and figure out how do you implement certain accommodations, and it gives you more information about accommodations. And then a link for the Technical Assistance Section 504 guide, which just kind of lays out what does Section 504 look like in Texas. If you have any questions or need any support with special ed or 504, please reach out and I will get you some help. If I'm not the person, we've got a whole team here that can help you get the specific help that you need. There's my contact information, and good luck this year.